And we are live. Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter, along with Sarah.
Hello.
If you could let us know in the comments if you can see and hear us, that would be fantastic. I feel like I'm forgetting something today. Do you ever have a day like that?
Most days.
I feel a little scattered today. So just let us know, because I could have forgot to plug in my microphone. Who knows?
Well, and I'm gonna sound off. I have come down with a head cold, so there's some congestion and such going on. But I've hopped up on myself on the cold medicine. So.
Oh, this ought to be entertainment. Last week she found a swearing loophole. What's going to happen this week?
Well, I'm all about the loopholes.
All right, we're actually, this piece here I'm going to be doing in another video. This was done with the new Jane Davenport mermaid markers, but today we're going to use watercolors and do a different stone angel, and just kind of we can compare how they look, and that way watercolorists will get a chance to have a tutorial on this, and as the marker people will too in a few days. So I thought that's probably the best way to do it, since I had so many people asking for both tutorials. And this video is brought to you by jerrysartorama.com. They are having a BOGO sale right now on their Creative Mark brushes. So I know a lot of you guys are looking to get some of these brushes I use. This is the, and this might be something where you get together with a friend, and like say if you got this set and you want to BOGO it, you know, you probably don't need two of these. I mean, I have one set and they're not worn at all, and I've been using them for a year pretty heavily. So Creative Mark brushes, and they do a lot of other brands too. So if that's not your cup of tea, if you have a different favorite, go ahead and check them out. And all the supplies I'm using are listed in the video description. I also want to let you know that the coupon for Lifebook 2017 has been extended till the end of the month.
Yay.
So yeah, if you want to join me for Lifebook, and I'll show you what my first lesson is. Of course, there's 23 other instructors there that are teaching too, but I'll show you my lesson. It's this one right here. This will be the first one, this little mermaid, and I'm going to be teaching you how to blend skin tones in gouache and mixed media. So that's what my first lesson will be in March, but there's lots of other fun things happening until then, and you could save 20%. Link and coupon code are in the video description. We're going to do some sketching together, and you're just going to need a pencil and a soft eraser. And I couldn't find my favorite mechanical pencil, so I'm just using this one. And this is from the dollar store, this little vinyl erasers. As long as you find a nice white one, it doesn't really matter the brand. They all work pretty much the same. We're going to start off by putting in an oval for the head, and the head is going to be tipped. Okay, so very, very lightly. I'm drawing darker than you ought to, okay? You should barely be able to see your line. And then I'm going to just kind of get a gestural line for the hair. Is going to be coming down like this. Shoulder here. Am I coming off the edge of the paper? The neck. And it's going to have her hand in her palm. So we're going to get... I draw very abstractly when I begin, so I'm just trying to get my basic shapes in before I even think about any detail. With the palm here from that arm, and the wing. Get the wing kind of coming up there. Very just suggestions here.
Brenda Collins Deeks, can I use something called canvas paper with watercolor paints?
Only if it's the Frederick's watercolor canvas. Other canvas papers are going to bead up. You could also use like a watercolor ground over the canvas paper. But canvas paper is generally more expensive than watercolor paper, so I think I would just stick with watercolor paper. Unless you just haven't, you're trying to use it up, then you'll need some watercolor ground, which actually, by the time you add that, it might be more expensive than just getting watercolor paper. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is put a line down the center of the face. Now, if you want to draw this on scrap paper so that you don't mess up your watercolor paper by erasing, you can. I'm just going for it. I'm going to have a good time here. So your eyes generally fall across the center of your face, so that's why I'm putting that line in the middle of my oval pretty much. And then the nose is going to be almost between the chin and the eyes. And then the mouth is generally between the nose and the chin, right in that general area. So I just kind of make these little marks as a guide point. I don't really worry about it too much. Now I am going to just sketch on the nose here. It's a kind of a profile, which I think is kind of easier to draw than to draw straight on face. And I'm going to get my eye in here, just actually just under that line, because there's a little foreshortening going on and the eye is closed. So I'm just going to get this kind of curved line. If you want to draw a tear, you can, or you can just paint that in later. Let me get the crease above the eyelid there, and eyebrow. And then on this side of the other side of the face, you're really not going to see much. You're going to have that dip, the cheekbone. You can put a little bit of a line there just to kind of give it the hint. Get the two little divots under the nose, top of the mouth. The line separating the lips, and remember, only kind of seeing mostly just half of that. The chin and nice round cheeks. Now the hair, we got kind of like a little band going across here, and then we've got these big, thick waves. They're kind of just almost Farrah Fawcett-like, just kind of twisting around. You don't have to draw too much of this. We'll do a lot of this with the paint, but we just want these nice, thick, statuey waves. A little bit of hair there under the palm. I feel like I get the hand a little big, although I am looking at a photo, so I'm just gonna, but I think it looks big. I'm gonna thin it out a little bit. And just get the sleeve. And remember, this is something that's depicted in stone, so we want things to almost be kind of thick and heavy. And just get basic shapes. You don't have to have tons and tons of detail. For our wing, just kind of maybe some swoopy feather lines. There. Now with your eraser, all you want to do is go and erase the lines you don't need gently, very, very gently. Any of those like gritty lines that you put on to line things up, those can go away. Just keep the sure lines that you know you want to have as you'll want to have to see. All right, now so I don't smudge anything or get any skin oils on my paper. I'm just going to use a paintbrush to brush off the crumbs. If you need to darken anything up, you can. Try to avoid using the eraser that comes on your pencil. They're generally very abrasive, and they generally will leave smudges. So, and don't worry about being perfect or having anything perfectly erased. You're not going to see any of those little stray lines by the time you're done painting. I'm using M-Gram watercolors today because I've had a lot of people ask about them. And I was going to work on my Langton Prestige paper, but I actually saw that I had 2 sheets left of a Fabriano Artistico block. And the thing that bothers me about blocks sometimes, because they're expensive, it bothers me. You get to the end, like last couple sheets, and then they don't stick to they come off the block, the backing. So I kind of clipped mine down to the pad just so that I'd be able to use it. And I think I'm going to begin by mixing out some colors. I'm going to start with a primary palette. We're going to use some phthalo blue. This is PB:3. That's phthalo blue green shade. And we're going to use a magenta. Let me just see if that's going to, just magenta PV19. And a little tip on your, if you have a big palette like this, if you take a piece of tape and write, you can write everything that you're putting in your wells down and stick it to the side of the palette. And that way you always know what is in your palette. You know exactly what's in each well, which is helpful. You see, that's going to give us a lovely purple. I think I'm going to use, well, I was going to use lemon yellow, but I think I'm actually going to use cadmium yellow. I think that'll give me a nice, more of a neutral yellow. And I might add some other colors as needed, but for now, I'm just going to start with those three, I think. Well, maybe I'll add a little burnt sienna. That way I have that to work with. Or Indian red. Let's do Indian red. I think that's Indian red. Actually, this is burnt sienna. Let's have that there. I want to see what that looks like if I mix it with my phthalo blue. Usually mix that with ultramarine for a nice granulating color. Oh, but that gives us a nice like turquoise gray, almost like a teal gray color. I think that'll be pretty. Okay, so I don't think I want a stark white background here. So I'm going to use my big brush. Actually, you know what? I'm going to wet the entire paper. I'm going to rinse my brush a little bit better first because it's kind of dirty there. And if you have any questions, just type the word question in all caps and then write your question, and either the moderators or Sarah will relay it to me, or the moderators will answer it right there in the chat for you.
Jane Wilkinson, I've never been used Winsor & Newton paints. They're 10 years old. Are they okay to use?
Absolutely. They don't, watercolors generally don't go bad.
Nicole Faulkner, how did you choose the colors to use in a painting like the statue, and how do you know where you want to use them?
Well, like a statue is generally like a monochrome, so you can be very free with your colors. Just kind of keep an eye on your values, meaning how light and how dark things are. So I'm going to give like kind of a warm yellow wash in the sky. So the yellow on its own is a little much, so I'm going to add some burnt sienna to it. I just kind of think about how I want the piece to feel, and then I go there from the colors. But value is more important than color always. So as long as you get your lights and your darks right, you're going to be fine.
Michelle King, I've been painting along with your tutorials, but when I use my Cotman set, the colors don't blend and spread like yours do. Any idea why or what will help?
You might need a paper that has more sizing in it. Cotman's a student paint. Sometimes it can flow. I haven't had too much trouble with the flow on Cotman, but if you work with a paper that's got a little more sizing. Canson Montville is very well sized, and it's not very expensive. So that will help you out quite a bit right there. I think maybe I'll put just a very gentle sunset colors in there so you get a little bit of that violet mix that we made.
Gracie Shack, do you think that the Winsor & Newton watercolors are better in tubes or pans?
I prefer them in pans because I like to work dry. They're not terribly different from each other, honestly. I do notice that the pans re-wet better. But the dried out tubes will also re-wet. It's minor difference.
Jeanette and Melissa Wise, is there a recommended brand for beginners of watercolor painting or brushes, including sizes?
I always say use the biggest brush you're comfortable with. I think for a beginner, you're better off with a traditional synthetic brush, just because like a faux fur like this one is so absorbent and holds so much water, it could be a little frustrating. So I'd probably go with like if you are going to Jerry's, I'd probably get the Ebony Splendors. Those are they come in sets. I would get a set because everybody paints different things in different sizes and are going to prefer different brushes. So that would be my advice. I'm using very, very pale washes here, and they are going to dry a little bit lighter, but I'm sticking with those 4 colors. I'm just altering them depending on what I am depicting. And my goal here is just to get something everywhere on the paper.
Ursa Major, what type of watercolor paper do you recommend?
There's a lot of really good brands out there, and a lot of that comes also down to personal preference. I like con paper that is well sized. I like Arches. I like the Langton Prestige. Fabriano's is not as heavily sized, or I think it's because the sizing is a synthetic. It's just it feels a little softer to me, but it certainly is fine. That's what I'm using right here. It really, it really just depends on how much you want your paint to flow and what your budget is. I say the Langton Prestige and Arches currently are my favorites. You can see my paint does not flow on this paper quite as well as it would on others, but that's all right because that gives me a little more control. So it also depends on what I'm painting. The burnt sienna is going to mellow out and make it feel a little earthier, whatever color you're using. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you get a color that's a little too wild, add a little burnt sienna to it. It will help it help tone it down a bit. And we will be drying this in just a second, and I will be taking some more questions too when I dry this. Make sure you avoid puddles. Puddles are going to give you blooms, and that might not be what you want. You can always force them later if you decide you want blooms. And I know I want to highlight on the cheek, so I'm just going to go ahead and lift that off while it's still wet. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm getting back to where I lost my place.
Oh, hey, I've been doing some live streams on my own. I totally respect and appreciate you, Sarah.
Well, and because sometimes they get answered down further, so sometimes I'll scroll down and make sure I'm not. So yeah. Also, Lindsay's not the one that's sick. It's Sarah, so that's who you're hearing. So people think it's you talking and typing.
Oh, I'm not that good. Not even close.
There we go. Okay, let me get down. Find back to where the questions are. We have a ton of chat. We have 321 people watching.
Wow, awesome.
So there's a ton of chat.
That's great.
Which is awesome. And people seem to be keeping it on. Crazy Shack. What advice can you give me about drawing people?
Just draw what you see and keep in mind proportions. So if you're drawing a face, like when I was saying, like the eyes are in the middle of the oval of the head, and then the nose is between the chin and the eyes, and the mouth is between the nose and the chin. Keeping those proportions on mind. Keeping like the proportion of like your eyes are generally one eye width apart. That sort of thing. Just kind of try to measure up each part of the body with another part of the body, so you know that you're not getting your arms too short or your waist too high. But it comes down to drawing what you see, just like with anything else.
Gracie Shack again. I have hot press paper and always work on cold press, and the paint doesn't do much. Is there a reason?
Hot press, usually your paint might slip around a little bit more because it's smoother, but it's just the smoothness of the paper generally. But different paper companies have different formulations for like how much sizing they have and what the paper is made out of. So there's a lot of factors there of why your paint might be different or working differently. If you touch your paper with the back of your hand and it feels room temperature, then you're dry. If it feels cool, then it's still wet. And mine is nice and dry. So I was thinking, I haven't cut these brushes down yet. I'm still planning on doing that. But I was thinking, because I've been hearing about the British two-brush method, and I was thinking, well, this might be just perfect for putting down a color and then blending it with the other side. So I thought maybe I would give that a try today. These are also a creative.
Are you sure you're not the one that didn't take cold medicine? That's crazy.
The crazy talk. So I was thinking that might be kind of fun to do, and maybe I'll decide that I don't want to cut these brushes in half after all. But these are actually also Creative Mark brushes, so they should be in the BOGO sale. But this set of 3, which is actually 6 different brush sizes, I picked up for $10 on their overstock sale. I don't know what the price is now, but might be worth a look. All right, so I think I want to go in and kind of add some, I'm going to go in with a bigger brush, go in and add some shadows. And my darkest color is going to be that violet. So I've got my, my phthalo blue. On its own, phthalo blue is kind of harsh. So I'm going to add some of the magenta to that. You could use any sort of like cool red or pink that you want if you don't have that particular color. And remember, some companies just give things different names, even though the color is pretty much the same. So I'm going to start, I'm just going to go in, I'm going on dry paper. I'm going to put in my darkest shadows here. And I'm going to wet this other brush, the other end, and use that kind of blend. Now these colors I just used to mix are staining, so you want to get that blend in as soon as you think you need it. I probably shouldn't have started this right on the face because, bless you.
Sorry.
I should have started this somewhere where it wasn't so so prominent, but try a brand new technique with a brand new brush, and let's put it right in the face. Where let's soften up with this brush because this brush is a little more.
Make it work, people. Make it work.
There. We're gonna have lots of different layers and things here, so I'm not too worried about it. I wonder if maybe I should wet an area first and then put in my darks, because that's a pretty harsh dark. But let me try that. I'll try that on the hand because that's going to have a lot more shadow. Let me try wetting this first. Oops, that's really blue. I'm going to add a little more violet to that.
Sammy Del Rey, I know this is somewhat of a weird question, but could you use rubber tape to tape your paper down?
Like electrical tape? Do you think that's what?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a rubbery.
Whatever you do, you just want to make sure it's not going to be something that's going to tear your paper, or well, it shouldn't, I don't know, the adhesive on that. I'm just wondering, you just want to make sure you're not going to be putting acid on your paper, and you want to make sure it's going to, it's not going to tear your paper.
Elaine Murphy, when I do this, my pencil lines smudge, thus dirtying my page. Help!
I think by the time we're all done, you're not going to have to worry about any pencil lines, really.
Kelsey A, what paper do you recommend for crafters? Not professional, but not student grade. I'm assuming she means watercolor paper.
I would go with a Fabriano Studio Hot Press if you're doing stamping, because it's a nice smooth surface. It's got 25% cotton. It does fall in the student range, but that's pretty much how papers either fall in artist or student range generally. I'm going to blot this just because I'm worried about the face. I gotta let that dry, I think, before I attempt to do too much back there. I'm gonna go work on the wing. I'm not sure if this is the brush for this technique, but we're gonna make it work, right? We're gonna make it work.
Make it work, people. Ursa Major, is there any watercolor paper that won't curl?
You could get 300 pound. That's gonna be way less likely to curl because it's so heavy. Or you could stretch any, stretch paper. Even 90-pound paper stretched isn't gonna curl. This is 140 pound. I just have it clipped down.
Michelle King, any tips for just getting started? I have about 5 of your tutorials sketched out, but I get so anxious about ruining it with the paint that I end up not painting it.
Maybe work in a sketchbook or something where you're not feeling so much pressure to have it right. All right, I find that this brush is not holding enough water for me, so I need to go back to my regular Mimics. For the wing, I wanted my colors to graduate and get lighter as they came down, because this area up here is kind of facing away from the light. So that's why I have this kind of darker violet color up here towards the top, and then I have it going down to the magenta, and then to that mix with yellow and burnt sienna.
Oh, roof fell off the snow. Snow fell off the roof.
Yeah, it didn't seem like we got enough snow to really have that happen, but I guess we did.
Jeanette and Melissa Wise, are there tricks for pearlescent watercolors?
You want to use them to get their most advantage to them. You want to use them on top of a darker color. So if I was to add pearlescence to this, I wouldn't do it till the end, and I would add it on top of areas that were dark, such as the shadows, because that's where they're really going to show up. Otherwise, they don't really show up that well in a light on a light background. They show up much better on dark. They actually, I like them best for like card making, and I can put them like on top of black cardstock or emboss some paper and then put the pearlescent on, or I just did a background on a card where I made the background with pearlescent watercolor inks, and then ran it through an embossing folder, and it just had a really fun gleamy texture because you got all the metallics, and it just had a really cool look. So you need something to contrast it. It's going to reflect light, so you want it against something dark so you can really see that quality.
Rhonda McGee, how do I produce an off-white, a warm one?
I would use yellow ochre and lots of water. You can add a little burnt sienna to it if it's too cool, but that should work. Water's the key. And if you just have a hard time controlling the water, then you could use some white, like some Chinese white. Okay. I am going to get some of these waves in the hair.
I apologize, I have to blow my nose.
Sure.
Hans Bergelas, if you could pick one M gram color to try, which would it be? I want to try different brands, but just one or two colors of each that they make better than anyone else.
Oh boy. M gram's pretty good along the gamut. I would say they're cadmium lemon or cad yellow light. I don't know if they call it cad yellow light or cadmium lemon. That's a really nice one.
Mary Wright, my daughter has just started doing mixed media, so we got her an art journal. She's 8. Should she use gesso before using watercolors?
No. Gesso will prevent the watercolor from sticking. Gesso is to prepare it for like acrylics.
Jackie Smith, I love your work. Thank you.
Welcome.
I watch Andrew Geeson as you recommended his style, but I can't draw very well. Is there someone you can recommend for learning to draw?
Let's see. I really don't, I don't know on YouTube. I know there's a lot of people that will do like kind of cartoon style drawings of like, famous Disney characters and stuff. I'm not sure. I know there's some classes at Craftsy for drawing, but
I'm not a drawer either, so I haven't. I'm sure people on here, our chatters and moderators can recommend some good drawing tutorials.
Yeah, because I'm trying to, I have a drawing playlist with a few drawing tutorials, but I don't do tons of drawing tutorials because they don't get watched as much as other ones. And I'm a color person. I really like to color, add color to things. I plan on some portrait drawing tutorials coming up soon, but I haven't gotten that far yet. Got a lot of good intentions though. My channel's paved with them.
Well, all sorts of paths are paved with good intentions.
Yep.
Carol Moore, what is the difference between an artist and a graphic artist?
Well, a graphic artist is generally somebody doing commercial work and doing like as opposed to fine art, they're doing work that's designed to like sell products or be used, you know, on posters, or usually to sell something, whether it's selling a record or selling a product or getting people to come into a show or a museum or a play. I mean, that's all graphic art. Whereas fine art would be art for art's sake or with no like financial purpose. I mean, the artist's goal might be to sell the painting, but it doesn't have like any other commercial ties, I guess. I'm deepening the color on this shirt area. This color here that I just pulled in, that was a burnt sienna mixed with the phthalo blue. It gives you kind of like a teal, like a gray teal color. I'm gonna add some of that over here too. I'm just gonna be careful not to put it next to something that's wet. I want to make sure I have a little definition in the face there, although this is a pretty watery mix. I've got these colors are so strong that I do have a lot of water in them, but they're still pretty vivid colors.
Sammy Del Rey, do you recommend the Winsor & Newton Cotman brushes? I'm fairly new to watercolors and wondering what brushes to use.
You know, I have like one or two of the Cotman brushes. They're okay, but I think they're kind of overpriced for what they are, at least where, you know, in our stores here, they're kind of expensive. I honestly think that they don't have that much of an advantage over similar synthetic brushes that cost way less, like the Ebony Splendor. I think if you're a beginner, synthetic brushes are the way to go, just because like these mimics, these are synthetic, but they act like natural hair and they hold so much water that's kind of what you want. But when you're starting out, that can be very frustrating because you're getting so much water, especially with student grade paints. It can be difficult to get the amount of pigment that you need because you're getting so much water. So I would say either like Ebony Splendor or Royal and Langnickel Aquilon or Majestic or any of those brushes like that. Even like actually Winsor & Newton makes a brush called Regency Gold, and I think that's a much better brush. It's marketed for toll painters, but I think it's about the same price as the Cotman. It might even be less, but I find that it just seems like a better quality brush, like the way the brushes come to a point, and they just seem like a finer quality brush for right about the same price. But since it's not marketed to a fine artist, the price is lower.
Amy Livingston, when would you use pre-soak/tape a watercolor project? I've seen you do a demo, but you don't seem to do that in your live paintings.
No, I will do that if I know I'm going to spend a long time on a painting. I'm talking like I'm going to work on it over the course of a week or days, and I just know I'm going to spend a long time on it. It takes a lot of time, and I usually just kind of want to paint, and the wrinkles, a little buckling like this does not really bother me that much. So in the summer, I'm much more likely to do it because I can tape a bunch, I can stretch a bunch, and then they have room to dry. It's just difficult. I don't have the space for it indoors in the winter. So
Elizabeth Jensen, any advice on getting dust off from watercolor pans?
Probably prevention is the best medicine there. Like have a lid on your palette. I think they'll have to be up for quite a while to get dust on them. I would just say try to keep a lid or even just a piece of paper or something over your palette so you don't get dust on it. This has a nice big lid that you can use as mixing that I just keep on it because I have a lot of different palettes that I work from. So I like to keep them covered up. Some people say they never cover theirs and they never have problems. So I think it depends on how much you use it. You could also take like a damp brush, I think, and wipe off the palettes, each pan of color, because I think that dust would just be on the top layer. I don't think it would have soaked in unless it got in there when the paint was wet. But if the paint was dry and the dust is on there, you should be able to like just take a soft brush and just brush over them dry and get dust off, I would think.
Janine's craft room. Painting seems to be at the hot mess stage. I often get discouraged at that point. How do you know when the painting isn't working?
I usually know right off the bat if the painting's not going to work. I know this is going to turn out fine because if I do lose too much detail, I can grab my colored pencils and I can retrieve it. You just have to have the confidence to push through and persevere, even when it's at the hot mess stage. This is definitely the hot mess stage, but I'm not worried. Make it. What'd you say? Make it work.
Make it work. People.
Make it work. Make it happen.
I've been watching some episodes of Project Runway, so I've got Tim Gunn in my head. Make it work, people. Make it work.
So now I'm going to start from the face and I'm going to start adding detail. Because right now we have 2 layers of shadow. We got our shadows and our midtones. We got our midtones and our highlights, and I'm going to go in with some deep shadows now. And I am using a number 4 round. So I'm going with a smaller brush because I want to have a little more control. And, that's something. I think when we get to the hot mess stage, it's actually kind of a gift because then, I don't know about you, but I'm not worried. Once I hit hot mess stage, I'm like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? Honestly, it's only got one direction it's going to go now. I'm darkening this side of the face. And I'm doing this in kind of a controlled wash method. I'm working along that wet edge of my paint. I'm going to grab just a smidgen of the magenta. Blot my brush though. I don't want to be forcing in a backwash or anything. But I do want to brighten that edge just right there. They'll mix and mellow a little bit. I was the portrait I showed you at the beginning of the video that I'm doing for the Life book. I had no idea how long I spent on that. I had just had so much fun playing with it. It was just one of those just enjoyable projects. And so then I sat down because I just turned on the camera and I would just work on it. I wasn't trying to narrate it live or anything. I was just kind of having fun with the process. And when I was done, I took all my footage into my video editing program to edit it. And I was very dismayed to see that I had 3.5 hours of footage there. I was thinking, well, maybe this took me an hour to make. I had no idea. So I think part of the process is just getting lost in the art and enjoying it and not worrying about how long it takes. We're not going to spend 3.5 hours on this, but just getting in there and enjoying it and not putting pressure on yourself. Nobody has to see your painting if you don't want them to. When you're done, nobody has to see it. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You just need to take it. The fact that you took this time for yourself to create and to make something, that's reason enough to do it. You don't need to prove anything to anybody with your artwork. You don't need to justify that what you're spending your time on is worthwhile. Now I want a softer blend on the cheek. I want the cheek to feel kind of round. So I've got that shadow in there. I'm going to bring more shadow out here and try to smooth what I had going on earlier, which was a little rough.
Bev Roberts, I bought a plastic dresser / organizer to store my watercolor paper in. Do you think it is safe to store watercolor paper in it, or will it have a chemical reaction and damage my paper?
Oh, it should be fine. Probably be worse off, you know, in wood, because wood has lignin in it that can transfer.
Which palette are you using today? It wasn't listed in the...
It's an M-gram. It's the M-gram watercolors. Oh, the palette is a Jones palette?
Yeah.
I think I prefer the Pike palette, though. If you're shopping, I think the Pike palette's better quality than the Jones.
Chitracar Artiste Pentre. I have been painting and practicing on A4 and A3 size. Now I want to go larger. What do you suggest?
A4 and A3. Gosh, I don't know what size that is. Do you know?
I don't off the top of my head. I have a chart at home that I use to cheat.
Yeah. Is that like a letter or is it like a card size?
I think A4 is letter and A3 is card. I think. Like I said, I don't remember because I have a cheating. It has like the measurements and like the what size they are.
Mm-hmm. I would probably try like maybe a like 11 by 14, like get the big sheets of paper and then tear it down to whatever you want. And you tear it in half. Look at that. That looks a little too crazy. Then tear it in half again and use that. You know, just go by what looks comfortable and doable for you. Mind your edges while you're doing this. You can always blend it out and decide later that you want to define something a little bit more, but you know, these are staining colors. So it's going to be very similar to working with our markers when we do that tutorial later. You just have to be aware that you're not, you know, you've got this chance to blend it now. I want some color in here. I'm giving it a little bit of a blush. Smooth everything with this big brush there. Okay, I'm going to go in with a larger brush just because I feel a little constrained with that smaller one. Probably using more magenta than anything here in this painting because it's a little bit weaker. So it just takes a little bit more to get the intensity that I want. I'm going to move down here. Get some of the folds of the fabric. And when I want a really dark color, using that that phthalo blue and burnt sienna will give me a really nice dark kind of teal gray. It's really pretty. It's a very cool, cool tone painting we're doing. Even though we have that red in there and the yellow in there, all the undertones in these colors are fairly cool. I want some harsh folds so in fabric so that it looks more statuesque.
Bev Roberts, is there a photo reference for the angel?
I don't know if I saved it. It was from that free, the copyright free site Pixabay. If you search angels, you'll find it. I think if you just search angels, it should show up on the first or second page. I'm following it quite loosely though, so it's not going to be exactly the same. Bring that shadow. The face is still damp, so I have to be careful. I want to bring that shadow right up under the chin, but I can't without smearing it into the face, so I guess I'll have to hold off on that for a minute.
Kim Galea, can you please tell me how to get the exact color of something such as an apple in realism?
It's not just one color, it's many colors and usually a lot of glazes. So you have to look at it, because in different lights an apple is going to be different colors. So you have to kind of set it somewhere or take a photo of it under a constant light, and then you need to mix your colors and kind of hold your colors next to it so you can make sure you're getting the accurate color that you're trying to get. Hopefully that makes sense. It's going to be a different color depending on what your light is, basically. I want to warm up those colors as I go up the hair. More magenta. So it's less that teal gray and getting more into a violet. And the shadows are less intense on the top of the head. Again, I got to be careful around the face because that area is still wet. You can go in with some magenta on its own and soften next to some of these lines. And it will wick the darker color up, which is kind of pretty.
Vivian Conway, what is the name of the website for the reference photo?
Pixabay, Pixabay, I believe.
Yeah, Paul Adams just put it on.
Oh, good.
So he typed it out. Hansbergelus, is there any advantage to doing many thin layers of the same color rather than one thicker layer?
Yeah, when you glaze, you can build more luminosity, and you might not be able to get that with one layer, especially with transparent pigments. With opaque pigments, it's not really that much of an advantage or disadvantage. And just the fact that you can adjust as you go, so you can kind of take a break and look at it and say, okay, what does this need? Do I need to add more of that? Is that good? You can kind of adjust it a little bit easier. All right, in here, I feel like this needs a little something different. I think, let's see if the face is dry yet. The face is still a little wet. I'm going to go over to the wings for now, leave that be, and actually mix up some more of that tealy color. my darker shadows here. And we're going to be doing some spattering in a minute so that we don't get too bogged down. I'm going to build some texture with the violet. I'm just dabbing this in here in the wing area. And then I'm going to go to add more magenta to my mix. Keep dabbing it down. I do want to get more of the shadow in the neck area before I do any spattering, just so I have that value established. It's very weird when you paint something that's kind of like abstract and then you go to recreate it and you're trying to like explain why you did certain things, because it's like it doesn't really make any sense when you say it out loud. It's like, I thought it needed a splatter here, so, and this is where I almost ruined it, so now I need to, you know, I feel like I lose all credibility.
No, that's not true. Ugh.
At this point, I was about to line the cat box with it, but then I thought I'd just try one more thing. The nice thing about the staining colors is once they're dry, you can keep layering and not have to worry so much about lifting the colors, that you can keep going additively on top. When you see my brush go out of focus like that, that's me dabbing it off on a paper towel. All right, now because I have some wet and dry areas, I think it'd be cool to see how the spattering looks on top of that, and it'll give me a chance to kind of clear off my palette a little bit. And different brushes, different wetnesses will give you different spatters. So if I go in with this bigger brush, I'm going to get, let me grab a little more yellow. I'm going to get a much bigger splat. And if you don't like a spatter, you can just go ahead and dab it. I don't know if I like so much of that yellow just because it wants to, I had it mixed in with a little bit too much green. You can also spatter in water, just plain water, and it'll blossom up your paints a little bit. And you can splatter in the water, then you can add little bits of color to your spattered area and let it just kind of flow. And you can dab in some of these colors on their own as well. Are people questioning my sanity now?
No, Ian was like, she keeps using the S word.
I like pinks on the spatter. Some
Ooh, yeah, I don't usually spatter pink either.
And do it wrong, it can look like a massacre.
Well, I guess it depends on the vibe you're going for. And
That's true. I like how everything's kind of blending in there quite a bit.
I mean, I guess technically, if you want to reference Doctor Who even more, that would be appropriate, because you don't want to blink. People keep talking about don't blink.
Yeah.
Don't blink. Don't blink.
Yeah, those are horrifying. Because when I go downstairs to my studio, I don't turn the lights on until I get right in the studio, because I know it kind of like the back of my hand, so I don't really turn lights on. But I get that little that quick like brief moment, like I'm gonna turn the light on. There's gonna be like an angel in my face,
right there.
It's right there.
Bared, right.
Yeah, exactly.
And someone, I can't remember who someone was saying. Those the weeping angels probably freak me out more. Like they're the freakiest monsters on Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, I agree. They are scary.
I just can't look at them the same now when I go to a cemetery.
I'm
like,
ugh. I am going to grab the colored pencils in just a second because I need to refine some of my shapes and whatnot. So I got to dry it first. If any questions occur to you while I'm doing this, go ahead and pop them in the chat. Type question in capital letters, and Sarah can let me know what you say.
Oh,
I'm liking my little. I'm liking the blossomy effect that I'm getting there, because it almost looks like lichen kind of clinging onto stone.
Oh, Ian is for the dialects.
The Daleks. I have some ice cube molds that my friend Audrey got me that have like tortoises and Daleks.
Nice.
I know.
Nice.
I could do them like with plaster Paris and make ornaments.
Yeah.
That's another one of those good intentions that I have.
It's on the to-do list.
Yeah. I always think spatter just adds something. I like the spatter. I like it when I get spatter on something. It just seems to give me a fresh start. I want to show you guys my colored pencil storage. My husband made this for me, but it's I think you could do something like this with foam core if you're not very handy with wood. But I just took my colors and I put them in loosely by color family, and I really like having my colored pencils stored like this. I wish I could have all my pencils in here. These are just my Prismacolors, but it is extremely handy to just be able to rifle through and find, you know, quickly what I want for a color. I decided to go in with a peacock blue, which is kind of it's relative to the phthalo blue, kind of a green-based blue, slightly more opaque. And I am going to go in and put in some more firm lines that I just know I want. It's not that dark in value though, so I don't have to worry so much about making a mistake, because it's not really going to show up that much if I get it wrong. And then I can go over with like a deeper color afterwards. So I'm just kind of using this to kind of bring back my design a bit. I feel like I want some more darkness around the eyes here, some more shadow.
Melissa Adams, what brand would you suggest is a good student grade set of colored pencils?
You know, I don't think I would bother. They're so low. They're so slow wearing. I guess if you had to go like student grade, I would go Prang, but they're very slow wearing. So, and they last a long time. I think I would just go for an artist grade that you like. I like Colorsoft personally, but I know not everybody agrees with that. So I would go over to I would look at some different color pencil artists. Lisa over at Lacquery Fine Art, she has reviews and she does amazing work with colored pencils. We don't have the same preference because we don't work the same. She's very realistic and you know, spends a lot of time on her color pencil art. But I do like her her reviews. She's very honest, and I would give her a look. I'm gonna grab some nice. This is, what is this called? Dahlia Purple.
Bev Roberts, does your husband do any custom woodwork?
Not really. He works a full-time job, so he does some cutting boards for my shop.
And family.
Yeah.
Especially. I've gotten a few lovely gifts.
Yes, he does nice work. It would be great to be able to do something like that. Oh, I'm liking this purple. I like the folds of the fabric with this purple. You'll just hit a color and you'll be like, yeah, that's what I want. And I am like, I don't sharpen my pencils very much. Maybe it's because I use Prismacolors a lot, and I know they're so finicky. They like to. Oh, and there's shavings all over my.
Yay!
Nice
that's a different
texture.
Kind of splatter.
There's some. Good grief! I can't. How do I open this darn thing? There we go. Oh, it's one of those friggy things that you have to.
Friggy? Is that a technical term?
Yeah.
It's awful friggy. I'm going to use that. I'm stealing that, and I'm going to use it somehow. I'm not sure how yet.
That's a Maine word.
Friggy. That is a Maine word. Only in Maine are you going to hear someone use the word friggy, and there's a technical reason behind it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I like sketchy lines. So if you're feeling brave, go ahead and throw some of those sketchy lines. I love the expression. Use your whole arm when you're doing this. Move your whole arm. Yeah, I'm not a typical colored pencil user. I like I'll use them until they're practically stumps. Like I don't sharpen them very often. Like just fast and loose. That's why I like Color Soft and Prismacolor, because that's how I work. Let's see. I'm not sure about this yellow, so I'm just going to use it in a couple little spots to see if I like it, where I know I'm going to want brighter colors. I like it. This is orange sunburst yellow.
Sunburst. Not sunny here today.
Oh gosh, no. I think that's why I want to use so much bright. I've been using tons of bright colors lately, and I think it's because I... Okay, I do want a pink, some sort of pink in here. Maybe I'll just go with this carnation pink.
Step 13, besides using a wax crayon for highlights, what else can I use?
I wonder, is she talking about like a resist or adding highlights after the fact? Masking fluid is great if you want like a removable resist, because you can add the masking fluid where you know you're going to want whites, and then after you're done painting, you peel it off. I don't know if anybody else is liking the purple and the sketchiness of this, but I am enjoying it immensely.
I like it. And really, that's all that matters.
That's true.
It's the cold medicine. It looks great.
Awesome.
No, I'm just kidding.
So if everybody out there...
Cold medicine adds an extra dimension to it.
If everyone out there could just, take a swig off the bottle of NyQuil.
Oh, no. It was Dayquil.
Dayquil.
If it was NyQuil, I would probably be asleep on the keyboard.
Oh, well, it's Dayquil. You're not even altered then.
No, I'm not altered at all. And I'm having herbal tea, so it's definitely not even from that either.
If you feel like you're too tight when you draw, hold the pencil further back. You can't have as much control, and you're going to get a looser line. So if you're like death grip on the tip of that pencil, hold it a little further back. Okay, should I do a tear? No?
Tear, people, tear.
Let me know, people. Should I do a tear?
Come on, vote. Put your voice out there.
Yeah.
Tear, no tear.
I like the colored pencils on the texture of this paper too. It gives it just a lively, sparkly look.
Tear. We have a vote for tear.
Alrighty.
A long tear. Tear, tear, tear. No tear. Yes. Tear, tear, tear. Of course it needs the tear.
Okay, let's see.
Tear, tear. Yes, tear. Tear. Yes, a tear. Make her weep. Yeah, tear, tear. No tear. Tear, please. Yes, a tear. Tear. One tear. Tear, tear. I think the overwhelming vote is for the tear.
All right, so got the tear shape in there. Do some sharpening here. I'm going to stick to colors I've already been using because I don't want to have anything that looks too out of place. The shadow around the tear, and then on the inside opposite the highlight we'll have dark.
Bev Roberts, do you think this Langdon Prestige is as good as Arches?
I've used it a few times and I think it is, but I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm going to grab some white. Let's grab a highlight there. And while I'm at it, I think I'm going to add some highlights on some other parts of the face.
Solil Nigro, what are good translucent watercolors? I want to get some for my birthday.
Well, these M grams are really nice. Pretty much any name brand is going to be pretty good. I do have a whole playlist of reviews if you want to go check it out and have like a little bit more in depth. So, you know, that way you can tell kind of based on what your budget is, you know, obviously different things cost different amounts, different parts of the world. So, I would look and see what you have available near you, and then look at my my watercolor review just the review playlist, and see what's going to match your budget and your needs. Because I mean, sometimes like equal quality products are different prices depending on where you live. So, you know, if you're living somewhere where Winsor & Newton is, you know, say a tube of Winsor & Newton is $8 and a tube of Schminke is $5, and you know they're equal quality, you can go with the Schminke and vice versa. So that's what I would kind of recommend, just looking at what you have available and then going and looking at reviews on those particular products. Otherwise, you're going to be so overwhelmed because there are so many beautiful brands out there. I'm going in and putting in my brightest highlights with this white color pencil. And that the whites are one of those Prismacolor colors where you're going to have the issues where, because they're so soft, they tend to break, and then you might want to try the microwave trick at your own risk. But that's what I've had to do with these. But I just can't find a substitute for that beautiful white Prismacolor pencil. There was one by Derwent. I think it was like Signature or something. I don't think they make it anymore though. And I'm pressing pretty hard here, and it's not snapping the lid. That's another reason I don't sharpen too much, because I like to press really hard when I go in for emphasis lines and texture. So, oh, I'm getting like flashbacks of that AHA video, The Take on Me.
Yeah.
Love that.
I remember that video. Yeah. That was a big deal when it came out. Kim Galea, do you use gouache?
Yes, that portrait I showed you earlier was a gouache painting, and I did a tutorial of vintage rose in gouache. I do plan on more gouache tutorials because I like that I could alter a gouache tutorial. Somebody could do it in acrylics or oils. And it's such a quick, accessible medium. My goodness, you are snuffling.
I know. I'm getting all tingly, like I have to sneeze.
Oh. I'm having way too much fun with this white pencil.
Too much fun? Is there such a thing?
Okay, now I think I do want to do a little bit more with the paint. So I'm going to go with my number 8 round. Another thing, if you're worried, like as you go on to the painting, if you're worried you're getting too much or you're going to get too much paint, you can go with a synthetic brush, like a regular synthetic, not a mimic, and you can have a little more control that way. So just keep that in mind. When I did the demonstration I showed you at the beginning, and I was using the markers, that was a very, very fun and free project. But I did go over markers with colored pencils and colored pencils with markers. I found that to be very, very enjoyable. I will be getting some resist effects with this, but I think enough of the paint is going to seep in and stain the paper, because they are staining colors, that they're going to behave much like the markers because of the particular pigment. So if I was using ultramarine blue and yellow ochre and stuff like that didn't want to stain, I would have different results. But experimenting kind of helps you come up with some really cool new ideas and techniques. So never be shy to experiment.
So Lil Nigro, have you tried the Glitter Wink of Stellar watercolor markers?
I have used the clear and gold because I find that I can mix the clear with, I can go over anything with the clear and get that colored look. So I didn't bother getting the other colors.
Rajashri Ghosh, if I can't find white gel pen, can I use white color pencil for highlights?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Works great. Especially if you get a nice opaque one like the Prismacolor. Just try not to drop it or anything, because they are really breakable, really soft lids. And you can soften, like if you feel like you've got too much texture from your pencil, you can go over it with a watercolor, and the watercolor is going to settle in between the pencil marks, and it's just going to soften things up. So you don't have to worry so much about texture or having it blended perfectly. Hopefully, if this teaches you anything, it's not to worry about what you slap down on your paper, because you can rescue it. I mean, it's way less of a hot mess than it was a half an hour ago. Remember half an hour ago when you guys were like,
in the hot mess stage.
What is she doing? How is she going to fix this mess? She calls herself a professional. I actually had a comment the other day.
Oh, no, not that.
On my realistic eye tutorial. And this woman says, you need to practice your drawing. You are not qualified to be teaching. I'm like, what? Really? That meeting was awesome, I thought.
Someone actually took the time to say that.
Yeah. I had to laugh. I'm like, really? Then I deleted her comment. I was like, really? Do you have nothing better to do? You saw the thumbnail. You saw how it was going to come out, and yet you watched it, and then you complained about it.
And I know, and free. That's the best part. Free.
Oh, some people.
All right. To heck with them. That's what I say. They get any more attitude, I'll just find out where they live and go cough on them or sneeze on them. Give them my cold. I can understand not liking something, but I can't imagine watching it anyway if you know you're predisposed to dislike it. Well, you know, it's fine if you don't like something, but you don't need to like go out of your way to point it out and tell people that that they're terrible. Just don't watch it. That's all. It's a lot easier to do it that way too. All right, I think I need a few more splashes, and then I don't know. I think this is pretty good. I don't know. I'm happy with it. It's fun and free and mixed media. I think that's the whole like why people are loving mixed media lately, is because it just really takes a lot of the fear away. I'm trying to not hit the microphone with my splatter. If you hear like a wave rolling in, that's just me hitting the microphone with my little yellow splatter up there towards the sunny area. Maybe a little, warm that yellow up with a little burnt sienna. And they do make splattering stamps if you don't want to splatter. If you don't feel brave enough. Pretty much. It can be tough to get used to splattering. That's why it's nice to splatter at the beginning or halfway through when you don't have anything to lose. This one, I think that ridge of the wing is too yellow. I think I'm going to tone it down, add a little pink to it or something, because it's just, it kind of looks all right here, but when I look up at the monitor, I'm like, wow, that's really, really strange looking. Might need some purple. Purple is the opposite of yellow, or maybe just blotting some of that out. It's still too bright. Oh, I'll make that stony teal color with my burnt sienna and phthalo blue. That's a really pretty mix. I don't think I would have thought to put those colors together, but it's a really pretty kind of like teal gray color. Now that anywhere you need a little dark, it's a kind of a nice color. What's going on in the chat? Anything? Oh, Dr. Who talk. Everyone's enjoying the paintings, splatters, stuff like that. We should take a poll, see who everybody's favorite doctor is. Somebody just asked me that on my blog this morning. Who's your favorite? Excuse me. Who's your favorite doctor? I like number 9. I like Chris Eccleston as my doctor. He was okay. He's a little grizzly and rough around the edges. Yes. I don't know. I really like David Tennant.
I think that's the crowd favorite, David Tennant.
But I also have been enjoying Peter Capaldi.
Really? I can't get into Peter Capaldi.
He reminds me of the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. I don't know why. I could just see him being like, he's just mad. I don't know. I wasn't sure about him at first, but he's grown on me.
What about Matt Smith? I like Matt Smith too.
Well, Matt was good too. You know,
they're all good.
Fish sticks and pudding.
Yep. Fish sticks and custard.
Oh, that's right. Custard. I'm sorry. Is the custard? No, custard and pudding aren't the same thing.
They're not?
I don't think so.
I don't know. There's got to be somebody British out there that can tell us. Is Ian still there? Ian's British.
Ian, where are you? You've been quiet. Grace Blosser agrees with you. Alexandra Manga says, David, I perform for fun. Chris, Thelma Hutchinson, Tom Baker, going way back.
What about the best companion?
Clara was not my favorite.
I like when Catherine Tate. What was Catherine Tate's character? She was an awesome companion.
She was great.
I loved her.
She was not
the only one that didn't swoon over the doctor.
And she would tell it like it was.
Yeah.
And Ian Jackson also goes for Tom Baker. Sarah Gogan, Tom Baker. We have a lot of Tom Bakers.
I see, when I think of the old Doctor Who, I remember being a kid and Saturday night and that show would come on and the music would freak me out.
Oh, really?
Yes.
See, I never saw the original.
Oh, no. Yeah, the music, because it was always on PBS on Saturday nights and it would just freak me right out.
See, because I'm a latecomer to the sci-fi thing. I was never into sci-fi, but as I've been getting over the past years, I've been getting more into sci-fi, so I'm a newcomer. Older and Dirt likes David Tennant.
I remember that the music would come on, that would freak me out, and I'd be flipping the channel over to Star Search. You remember Star Search?
I do remember Star Search. Anita Marion likes David.
I almost kind of would put some metallic splashes on here. I do it. Metallic splashes. All right, I need to get up. I need to go over to my drawer and get my metallic watercolor ink stuff. So any other questions coming into the find it in
here? Kristen K. It's a thick custard, which is like an American pudding. So it's the same idea, probably just thicker. And apparently it goes with fish sticks.
I don't really go with fish sticks because it seems like that's like something that Doctor Who made up.
That's not a choice I would make, but Doctor Who was he liked fish sticks and custard.
These are the liquid metals by Ken Oliver Crafts. You could use an iridescent medium. I just didn't have any up here, or twinkling H2Os, whatever you have. I just thought this might be kind of fun because I had it out from a card making tutorial I was doing the other day. These are a watercolor product. So I'm putting right on my palette. I wouldn't let it dry and then go back after it because I think it might not re-wet so well. But I think for this, I'm just going to squirt a little out. And just to be on the safe side, I'm not going to use my favorite brushes. I'm going to grab a brush I would use for like acrylics for this, just in case.
Oh, and Ian was more into Battlestar Galactica.
Love Battlestar Galactica.
I couldn't get into Battlestar Galactica.
The new Battlestar Galactica.
But I'm also not like a big Star Trek or Star Wars fan.
I'm not a big Star Wars fan.
I have not seen any of the new Star Wars movies.
We just went and saw it. We just went and saw the Rogue One. Finally, my husband had been like dying to go see it.
John went and saw it he and his brother went.
Well, we couldn't get all the kids together. The kids were excited to go see it. I enjoyed it. I'm not a big for some reason I never got into the Star Wars fantasy. I like Star Trek. I don't know what it is about Star Wars. It just seems so silly. Compared to everything else. How unbelievable.
No. Okay. Because it was many years before I actually saw a Star Wars movie, like any of them, all the way through, because I would always fall asleep.
Yep.
I was just like,
exactly.
I don't
me
know.
too.
Star Trek is, I don't know. I mean, it's fine. Whatever.
I like Star Trek.
It's one of those, if John really wants to watch, like, I saw the new Star Trek movie because John bought it. It was fine. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Yeah.
It's like a more sophisticated sci-fi. I feel.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I like the silly Doctor Who too, because that's a little silly, but not as silly as Star Wars.
I don't know. Star Wars is just. I feel like they should have just left the 6 movies and been done with it, but God forbid they do that. They just have to beat things into submission.
Oh, like the Avengers. What is that? The superhero people.
Oh, well, that's not going to stop either, and that's starting to get. It's like, how many more? And then the Wolverine character. They're coming up with a new Wolverine movie, but he's not even going to be Wolverine anymore. He's retiring.
Well, they got to roll out some new superheroes as they start to get, middle-aged.
I know, but I can't remember his name right now. He was like the perfect Wolverine, and now
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, he's done. Like he's like, I'm done.
Really?
I'm done.
He's probably tired
so
of it.
now they got to find some young person who, I don't know. I'm an old lady and grouchy.
Well, that's the nice thing about Doctor Who. They don't, they'll have doctors of all ages.
Yes. Well, and the thing with Doctor Who though is like it's expected. It's always a known that he regenerates.
Right.
So,
Isn't that a horrible thing though? The first time you're watching it and then they regenerate, like when Christopher Eccleston regenerates, like no, I've been lied to.
I know.
All right, I'm gonna dry this and then maybe put a little more colored pencil in it. Maybe just leave it the heck alone. We'll see when it's all dry. So this may be just about done. If you have any questions you want to pop in there at the last minute, go for it. Because I'm not sure if I'm going to add any more. I'm liking the shimmer though. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's got a real pretty. I
can see it from here.
Pretty effect.
Yeah. Oh, people are chatting about Star Trek, Star Wars.
Yeah.
All that. Oh, someone brought up the Deadpool movie, okay?
Oh, I didn't watch that.
Ryan Reynolds is really annoying, and I don't enjoy him in movies at all. And
Who is he?
He's a bad actor. He played Deadpool. I feel like in all of his roles, he just runs his mouth and doesn't stop, and he's really annoying. And I just kind of want to put a muzzle over him.
Oh, I think I know who he is. I think I saw him on one of those talk shows. He's kind of a pretty boy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's kind of pretty, and he's married to... Oh, what's her face? Some bad actress from some bad TV show.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Rose Ryan also does not like Ryan Reynolds. He gets on my nerves too, Rose. I'm with ya. And if people are like, but he's so cute. I was like, maybe you can put a paper bag over his head and like muffle him, and that would be fine. But he doesn't do anything for me. He just annoys me. And I did see the Blake Lively. That's who he's married to. She was from
Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that show.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay.
That was my guilty pleasure.
That's
right
okay.
there.
We all have our guilty pleasure. Project Runway is my guilty pleasure show. Like it, sorry, people are seeing me in a whole new light.
We all have them.
I feel like Deadpool could have been good. I just am not a fan of Ryan Reynolds, so I was not into the movie. I mean, I watched it because John was watching it. That's fine, but I just, ugh. God, he just talks.
I'm using the white color pencil kind of as my final details here. And then I'm going to call it good. If you need more shadow or you need more this or that, you can go ahead and add as much as you want. The thing I really like about the pencil, it doesn't matter what brand you use really, is that you can always go back in, especially when you're doing this multimedia techniques where you're layering and you're spattering, and because that kind of builds up a little texture. And working on a cold pressed watercolor paper, it essentially has texture when you begin. So I can keep putting down more media like this, and it somehow keeps sticking. So it's kind of fun. I remember the first thing when I started taking lessons, I was lucky enough to take lessons as a child, and I had to learn how to draw before my instructor would teach me how to paint. And so when I was 5 and I began lessons, she had my mother get Prismacolor pencils for me, and it was like a set of 60 Prismacolor pencils, which were very expensive and not something you'd buy a child back then. But I mean, this is a barrel Prismacolor. I'm sure this is one of those ones from my first box when I was 5 years old. So imagine how old that is. This is a middle-aged pencil here. And, you buy quality stuff. If you take care of it, it will last. But these are just something I've always enjoyed. And then I think the reason G had me get the Prismacolors is because she was a watercolorist, and she would use Prismacolors over her watercolors, especially if you've lost your highlights, or you've lost detail, or maybe you're doing a flower and you need to put the veinings in, but you just can't seem to achieve the depth or detail with your paints. You can go in and do that with your pencils. So if you can add a media to your arsenal that makes your other media more useful, it's a good idea. And it's fun. And sometimes I want to paint in pure watercolor, but this is awfully fun. And if it's fun and you're learning something, it's not a bad thing. Any other questions coming in?
No, just talking about different TV shows and movies. And Jen K, I think, is seeing me in a whole light.
I'm sure they don't think any less of you.
No, it's just there's a new shadow cast on me because I'm not a Ryan Reynolds fan.
You can't be perfect. Can't please everyone.
Yeah, I mean, if I was that perfect, it would just not be fair.
You couldn't stand it. No, it would be. I've had a few people ask me if you have a YouTube channel, Sarah. Any plans?
People have asked me. No, I have zero plans to have a YouTube channel. I'm a behind the scenes type of gal, especially on days like today because I can feel my nose getting red.
Yeah.
From having to wipe it with tissue.
Oh, you need Puffs Plus.
That's what I have at the house, but it's just like constant.
Yeah, it's like I never have those here unless somebody's sick, because I'll wipe my glasses with them by mistake, and then I've got like a grease streak all over my glasses.
Well, because John has such bad allergies pretty much year round. I always buy Puffs because he's always blowing his nose.
Okay, guys, this is it. This is the finished painting. We got a little bit of metallic shine. You've got some mixed media happening. I love the thick chunkiness of the hair with the colored pencils. I will show you the marker version again, because we will be doing this sometime shortly on my channel. Might be a live stream, might be just a recorded one.
Several people also want to see the pineapple.
I actually recorded that this morning. Okay. That will be up this weekend. So
perfect.
Yeah, so you have that to look forward to. This was a lot of fun. I want to thank everyone for hanging out. We had more than 300 people, most of those streaming, so that was pretty cool. And if you liked it, please leave a thumbs up before you go. That really helps other people find the videos too, so they can also create art and you can share the love. So bringing the world together through art. So that's it. Check out jerrysartorama.com for any of the supplies that I use today. And if you want a year's worth of mixed media inspiration, check out Lifebook. There's a link and a coupon code in the video description. Go check it out. See what you think. The woman that runs it, Tamara Laporte from willing.org, is an amazing portrait artist. She does these beautiful whimsical faces, and I think you would just really love her style. But the whole course, Lifebook, runs for a year. You have a different class every week. There are 23 mixed media instructors. I'm one of them, and there's just lots of very robust classes. And at the end of the year, you have a life book. You have a book of 50 different paintings to bound together and remind you of your year of creativity. So it's a lot of fun.
And thanks everybody for wishing me well. I'm going to go take a nap this afternoon. I've already got it planned out. Yay!
I hope you feel better. That's it for us. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, happy crafting.